One of the things that I wish that I had that I don't have, especially for the early years of my training, are more tangible memories. I've got a lot of memories, a lot of good memories, a lot of things that I want to share with people, but what I don't have are pictures and videos and other tangible things that I can share when I tell those stories or show people this is what it was like, or this is who this person was, or this is when this happened. I don't have those things. And over the years, I've tried a number of different things to create that for my students and the people who come to my dojo. And there's a new product I want to share that I think might just be the key. Recently, I came across a project that was available for pre-order that I immediately jumped on because I saw some interesting potential, and that is the Camp Snap camera. This camera is designed to be, you can tell it has no screen. This is a really interesting camera designed for kids, and the idea is to be able to, when you're out experiencing nature and doing fun things, that you have the ability to snap pictures, but you don't get so lost in looking at the pictures or taking the perfect picture that you forget to enjoy the experience. Outdoors, nature, that kind of thing is not what I'm doing. I'm doing martial arts in a dojo. That example is exactly what I'm looking for, which is to be able to save memories, preserve memories, but not have it interfere with the thing you're trying to do. Pick it up, snap a picture, put it back down, and just go on about your day, having a good time and experiencing the things that you're doing. I mentioned that I bought this camera, and I bought a couple of these cameras as soon as I saw the pre-order, so you might be able to assume, and you would be correct, that this is not a sponsored video. Camp Snap does not know that I'm making this video. These opinions that I have are the opinions that I have from using it for exactly 2 days, and I'm looking forward to using it for more, and then hopefully maybe I'll do a follow-up on kind of where I land with it after using it for a while. This thing is super simple when you get it. It's the box is nice and clean, and when you open it up, all it is a camera, a USB-C cable, and a manual. It does have memory inside of it. There is a little trans flash or micro SD card slot. It comes pre-filled with one so that you're ready to shoot. That actually has a screw on it so that it can't fall out and get lost. You can capture the pictures from the USB slot so you can pull them off without having to pull the card out. Everything that you do is double purpose. So the power button is the shutter button. So shutter and power, same button. The USB-C port is for transferring the photos as well as charging the camera. So everything's got kind of a double purpose, and that makes it super simple to operate. All I do is I take and I grab my iPad, I plug it in, and then I download the pictures into my iPad right away. So that compatibility makes my life so simple that I don't have to pull a card, go take it to a computer, transfer it, that kind of stuff. Grab the same USB-C cable that I use to charge it, plug it into the iPad, transfer the pictures directly over, off and running, and now I can leave the camera ready to go for somebody else to keep shooting with, and I've got the pictures, I can process them and share them with everybody as soon as I have a free moment. I love that. The operation is super simple. So what are the things that make this camera different? Well, you already saw that it doesn't have a screen, and part of not having a screen, and it doesn't have things like autofocus or other modern amenities either, but part of the things that not having that does for you is allow this camera to be very inexpensive. This is, at the time of this video, this is a $45 camera. I immediately picked up 2 of them. This is an absolute great price point to remove the barrier of entry of costs of cameras and to make it possible to put it in the hands of anybody and maybe not worry so much. I've got all kinds of cameras in the dojo that I have around all over the place that people could use, but they don't. Why don't they? Because they're complicated, because they're expensive. They're afraid they might break it. They're afraid that something might go wrong. They're afraid they don't know how to use it. All of those things are reasons why people don't capture those memories. So with something like this that only has basically a shutter button that doubles as the power button, that makes it to where there's no barrier to entry. So the idea for me is I've got a couple of these around the dojo, and if you see it and you want to capture a memory, just go grab it. Take a picture, set it down. On the back, it will count up the number of pictures that it's taken, and then periodically I'll just pull the pictures off and share them with everybody. We got a TV in the dojo. I can put them up there. We've got a Discord channel that we use inside the dojo for all the different activities and things that we do, so I can post the pictures in there. We can put them on Facebook, whatever we want to do. Such a simple thing. So you can literally take that picture and then toss it on the mat and go back to what you're doing and not worry at all, or throw it to your friend so he can take a picture. I love it. I love this idea. So at $45, what are the trade-offs? Well, there are some. There are some specific ones, and I will probably, especially if there's interest, if you guys comment and want to know more about how this works out for me, I can do a follow-up on this, but you've got to learn to use it. Operation of the camera is super simple. Hold the button to turn it on, just wait a couple seconds, it'll beep, and then you're ready to go. The back of the camera lights up, counts up how many pictures you're ready to go, and you're good to go. So that's awesome. That's super simple. It'll actually turn itself off after a few minutes. It's USB-C rechargeable, so keeping it powered up and ready to go is easy. So where is the drawback? Well, the drawbacks are, because it has no screen, you don't actually know if the picture turned out okay, which is kind of cool. It takes you back to when you shot with an instant or disposable film camera and you had to go develop the pictures to find out if they were any good. But it also means that while you're learning to use it, it's kind of a cumbersome process of taking the pictures and then looking at them, figuring out what did or didn't work right, and then going again. With it being a fixed focus lens, there's no information on the website or in the manual or anything about what the focal length is. And so it's a wider lens and it captures, but you gotta be more 6 feet, 10 feet further away for things to be in focus. Those things will be in focus. It'll capture them and everything will be great. There's not an autofocus. It's almost closer to like a pinhole camera. But I am a person who likes to get in close to take portraits or different things, capture those moments from inside of that moment. And so what I've found along the way is the pictures are not in focus. It's capturing the wall behind them, or instead of the person I'm taking a picture of, it's the people behind them. And that's okay. I'm not bothered by that. It's a learning curve. It's something that I've got to come to understand. The other thing is, how does a camera work? When you take a picture, it's going to activate the shutter, and then in this case, it's also going to make a sound. There's a little speaker back here that makes a sound. So I'm used to, when I press the shutter release, that I press it and hold it down so that I'm not introducing extra camera shake by pressing and releasing. This is mitigated in its natural state, what it was meant to do. Outside, lots of light. It does have a little LED flash that I think could help. It's created different issues for me inside, but that's okay. So when you do that, you have a fast shutter speed. When you have lots and lots of light, the camera compensates by using a fast shutter speed, so things are nice and sharp. When you're inside, it's more dim light. So when you press that, any shake that you have, any movement that they have, becomes a problem. And when you take the picture, it doesn't actually take until you let go of the button. And then a second or so later, it makes the sound. One more time. Release. So when did it take the picture? Did it take the picture when it made the sound? Or did it take the picture when I released the button? I'm assuming it didn't take the picture when I pressed the button. So these are things that I've got to figure out. How did it work? And just kind of dial that in so that I can tell people so that they know. Right now, toss it around, it's got a counter on the back, and I'm like, hey, bring that back when it says 25 pictures. That's like 5 more pictures than where it was, and they run around, grab pictures of whatever they want. And that's super fun, it's super cool, I really love it, and the pictures that you get when you hand the camera to somebody else are so interesting. I have a very specific look to the pictures that I take because I frame them a certain way, I compose them a certain way, I shoot them from certain angles, it's just how I shoot. So seeing pictures taken by somebody else is always exciting, and I actually get to be in a couple of the pictures, which is also cool. So for those to work, ideally you want that to come back with pictures that are usable. This last Saturday was the first time that we tried it out, and most of the pictures weren't usable. But I'm not throwing this away, and I'm not telling you not to buy one. It probably sounds like I should be, but I'm not. It's just a learning curve, learning a little bit. And if you're someone who trains outside with lots of light, you probably won't run into some of these issues. And I have lots of light in the dojo because studio lights and that kind of stuff. So it's just a matter of mostly figuring out when it takes the picture so that you're not going, and then it took the picture while you were moving around because you didn't know when it took the picture. Also making sure you understand how close or far away do you have to be for the picture to be in focus. of the thing that you want. So it's not perfect for the whole selfie action. Those are a little more out of focus, but they're still super fun. So now let's talk about image quality. It's an 8 megapixel sensor, and that's more than printable and anything else, especially when we're showing them on phones or tablets or TVs, that kind of stuff. More than good, not a problem. For outdoor pictures, honestly, it does a really good job. It is a color sensor. It's taking color pictures. Indoor, with the added grain of the high ISO from the indoor problems, the extra shutter speed, this kind of stuff, the potential blur and that, I prefer it black and white. Actually, I kind of just wish it shot black and white. But I don't mind it in color because I can process it in black and white and get black and whites that look the way that I want them to look. I like a really deep black, for example, in my black and whites. And so color-wise, in a low-light situation, it's noisy. It's not the best. In fact, with certain lighting, it's kind of gross. Switch it to black and white. It's more classic. One of the reasons that I like black and white is because it's more about the moment and the expression rather than color can be distracting. So I actually prefer it that way. It adds a step. I process them to black and white before I share them. But actually, I really like how these moments look that way. Other than that, figuring out the focus issues and the blur of slower shutter speed, these are all things that you learn in your craft. And it's a little disheartening because I wanted to be able to just hand this camera off and not have to give any instruction, just take the picture. In this environment, it doesn't work exactly like that. But as people get used to this idea, it is a specific purpose for us. As people get used to that idea and they kind of know this is when it takes the picture, this is how you do it, this is how far away I should be, then honestly, I think that it can do really well, and I'm really excited about the types of images that I'm gonna get. To have a full-featured camera system for $45 with storage and everything else is awesome. It is something that I absolutely think people should consider, and I hope this is a project that takes off really well, because something like that brings photography into the commonplace. It's not something that you got to go buy something expensive, and it's not something that you're doing with your phone. When you pick up your phone and you take a picture, you might be distracted by everything else that your phone does, or you might be interrupted by it being a phone and getting a phone call. When you have something that is dedicated to one task, then you do that one task. And when you can hand it to a kid and you're not worried about what happens, you can toss it, you can do whatever, and they might get the chance to discover their love for photography. And honestly, photography is one of the coolest things in my mind. It's such an incredible passion, and it captures memories. There are so many things that I love to do, hobbies and different things, different passions that I have. Photography is one of my favorites because there's a memory that's created every time. So what would I do different if I was developing this as a dojo camera, an indoor sports camera, or an indoor camera for the kind of things that we do? I would not change its body. I love it. I think it's beautiful. I think they did an excellent job. I would personally go with a closer focal length, because I think typically the best pictures when it comes to people generally happen closer than 6 feet, usually 3 feet or sometimes less, but 3 feet would be a good distance. Having it prioritize a faster shutter, there are different ways that you could go about doing that, but from internal to a building, you introduce so much chance for blur that even your own hand movement, but then also people movement, that having some focused on shutter speed as the priority would be super important. It's complicated, and I get that. And then when it comes down to color, honestly, I don't know if I would change that at all, because you can process color different. I mean, you can take color photos. Maybe you like the way that they look. You can process them differently, and you can process your black and whites differently from color. Just changing contrast and things like that on an existing black and white photo is very limited, but when you do that from a color photo, you get a lot of options. So leaving it a color sensor, I would probably do that. Then the shutter button, I would change it to where when you press the shutter button, as soon as you press it, it takes the picture. I want to know that as soon as I go now, that the picture is taken, and not that I'm sitting here going, what? And then now it's turned off. It's a weird thing, and it comes from it having a double button. So whether the answer is to move that button to being a separate button, the power button, or even maybe a switch. Honestly, I think people are kind of used to switches. But I get it. The button being temporary means it'll turn itself back off, whereas a switch that's on, it could stay on, run the battery down. But either way, being able to press, and that's the moment. We're trained, if you've done anything with pictures and cameras and photography, we've been trained and conditioned that the moment you press the shutter is the moment the memory is captured. So the idea that you have to press it, remember to release it, and that moment might be gone. And so it's harder to do that. If you're doing landscape, if you're taking it, I mean, it was developed for camping and camping trips and doing that kind of stuff. If you're taking landscape and nature photos, then any moment is the right moment, provided you don't add a lot of camera shake because you went click and then like this, and then it took the picture while you were doing this. So I think even in that case, it could present problems. So that'd probably be one of the biggest changes for me to make me love this camera more, would be as soon as I press the button, that's when the photo's taken. Because if you're used to timing and you're used to capturing that moment, or you want that exact thing, you're waiting for it, the idea of holding it, because what's my option? My option is to hold it down and then wait, release when the time comes. If I do that and the time is a little bit too long, the camera shuts itself off and the whole memory's gone forever. So that would need tweaked for more faster action, people-related things, which is kind of what I hope to use it for. But I think that we can make adjustments to how we shoot to make this a very viable and useful thing in the dojo. And who knows, maybe there'll be a version in the future that tackles a couple of these issues that I think could make it just the best dojo camera to just have around, capturing memories. Honestly, I think a camera like this could be the perfect thing to help make memories come to the forefront rather than the process.